Hi everybody, welcome to this short video on researching and organizing your speech. Today we're going to be talking about inferences. An inference is essentially a mental leap from your supporting material, the facts you're presenting, to your claim, whatever your opinion is. This is important for an argumentative speech. However, there are both good and bad inferences, as there are also good or bad facts or good or bad supporting material. You're going to be doing academic presentations, which means that bad facts are not good enough, bad inferences are not good enough. We'll leave that to politicians and their alternative facts. We'll stick with the academic stuff. So let's see if we can tell the difference between good and bad inferences. So I've got two examples of inferences here, one of which is good, one of which is bad. Let's take a look at both of them. So claim. Stratum 2 of our excavations is dated to the reign of the Emperor Trajan in the early 2nd century AD or CE. Supporting material. A gold coin stamped during the reign of the Emperor Trajan was found in Stratum 2. Inference. Stratum 2 may be dated to the reign of Trajan because of the coin found in it. So is this a good inference or a bad inference? Think about it. Take your time. I'll wait. It's good tea. This is, in fact, a bad inference. The reason that it's a bad inference is a couple of different things. Know that those of you, when we went over archaeological method and theory, know that a coin at the very least, at the very best, gives us what's called a terminus post quem, a time after which, or limit after which, something was deposited or something was built. So a gold coin stamped during the reign of the Emperor Trajan was found in Stratum 2, but it could have been put there really at any time. Gold coins are valuable. People pick them up and move them around. They could have been deposited really any time after the reign of the Emperor Trajan. So we can't date Stratum 2 to the reign of Emperor Trajan just because we found a coin of Emperor Trajan in it. But let's look at this second example. Right? The claim here, Stratum 2 of our excavations is not dated to the reign of the Emperor Trajan, but almost a century later. Supporting material. Stratum 2 was built under a floor dating to the early 3rd century AD or CE, and a late 2nd century AD pottery was found under the floor. The inference is that Stratum 2 may be dated to the late 2nd century AD based on the pottery and the later floor. This is an example of a good inference because we have material both above and below the floor, what's called a terminus ante quem. We know the floor dates to the early 3rd century. We know that late 2nd century AD pottery was found under the floor. Therefore, we know that the Stratum 2 dates to the late 2nd century AD and not to the coin that was found in it before. One of the reasons that we can fall into these kind of traps in terms of our inferences, in terms of our logical reasoning, are what are called logical fallacies, right? So fallacies are inferences that, by all appearances, are sound, but once you inspect them, really look at them, there are significant flaws in them. So there are a few different fallacies to avoid. Fallacy of composition, assuming that what's true of the part is also true of the whole. So it's kind of like saying, Anasazi, this piece of Anasazi pottery has geometric decoration on it, therefore all Anasazi pots have geometric decoration, right? You're taking only what of the part that you have, and you're inferring that it applies to the whole. And this is not always the case, especially in archaeology. Remember, in archaeology, all archaeology is just survey. We're only looking at a part of the evidence that's available to us. Then you have the fallacy of division, assuming that what's true of the whole is also true of the part. Assuming that, for example, we talked about the idea of the ancient Anasazi or ancestral Pueblo people, right, who were known for their agriculture, particularly maize, beans, and corn. So, you can say the ancestral Pueblo or Anasazi were agriculturalists, does that mean that every single one, like you excavate an Anasazi person, does that mean they're an agriculturalist? No, you're saying it's sort of a generalized statement about the whole, but individual people can be different. We are all people who, go get food in the grocery store, but some of us hunt, some of us gather. Not all human beings are agriculturalists. Then there's the assumed cause fallacy, assuming that because two things are related, one causes the other. This is important. Co- uh, co- uh, Correlation is not causation. Just because two things are related does not mean that one causes the other, right? That's is very similar to the common cause fallacy, right? Assuming that A causes B when in fact A and B both cause C. So assuming that like there's one cause to say the classic Maya collapse, right? Climate change caused the classic Maya collapse. When in fact you really look at it, climate change was also included with other factors as well. There was not just climate change, there was also urban sprawl, overpopulation, um, different exterior enemies that brought the classic Mayan collapse to happen. So it's the difference from what we call a monocausal versus multivariate explanation. Almost all explanations are going to be what are called multivariate, meaning that there are many, many factors that lead into them happening. Then there's, this is a fancy one, it's in Latin, post hoc ergo propter hoc, assuming that because B happened after A, then A caused B. Again, correlation is not causation. Then there's a non sequitur, a fallacy in which your claim does not logically follow your supporting material. Um, it's snowing outside, and therefore climate change is not real. Uh, those, like one thing does not follow the other. They're completely different. Circular arguments, fallacy in which your claim simply restates the supporting material in a different way. It's kind of like saying, you know, uh, we have evidence of climate change causing the downfall of the Mohenjo-Daro civilization, and therefore the Mohenjo-Daro civilization fell because of climate change. It's a circular argument. You're going around and around and around with that. And then uh, equivocality, which is basically multiple meanings can be derived from the same claim, right? You make a claim that the Akkadian Empire fell because of climate change. Uh, Therefore, it also caused this and this and this and this and this and no, 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 no. We need to go back to the idea of a more complex multivariate explanation for things rather than monocausal. So those are just some of the fallacies that we see in logical arguments and speeches. So when you go through and for the end of this class, you do your argumentative speech, which is the SMOC research proposal, go through and ask yourself, do I have any logical fallacies in this speech or in this poster presentation or in this however you're going to do it at the mid-year symposium or the sustainability symposium. Do I have logical fallacies in my speech? And if so, how can I avoid them? And we will talk more about this at another time. But for now, enjoy the rest of Unit 3. Thank you.